Wendy, if you want to go ahead and begin. Oh, Wendy, you're on mute.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Wendy Kalergis, President and CEO of the Greater Miami Beaches Hotel Association. And as you can see, I'm here at Miami International Airport. Although it's nighttime, I am definitely here in spirit. And we're very delighted. We're so excited and delighted to have a great discussion today and update from our MIA family. I want to also acknowledge Lester Sola, who serves on our board as the executive director of the airport, and for his friendship, and everybody at the airport have been so wonderful to our industry. I wanted to also acknowledge Bill Talbert in the audience. Hi, Bill. Thanks for being here with us, President and CEO of the GMCBB, as well as I wanted to introduce acknowledge my team, Fahima Garcon, who's in charge of marketing and events manager, and Monica Walker, who's in charge of sales and membership sales and relations manager. Also, just a quick announcement on next July 16th, we're going to have our second in a series of luxury events with Forbes Travel Guide in partnership with them. So that'll be on July 16th from 11 to 12. So let's get started. I want to introduce now a very, very good friend of ours. It's great to see Barbara today live. Barbara Carlo, Landside Operations Director, Miami-Dade Aviation Department, to say a few words. Thanks, Barbara, for joining us today.
Well, thank you.
And arranging this for us. We really appreciate it.
Barbara, you're on mute.
Unmute.
There we go.
There you go. So thank you very much for having us. And I am so glad to see many of you that I'm not able to see. And, you know, we've been going through this pandemic, unfortunately, but I'm glad to see that everybody has stayed safe and we're all together today here. I just want to go over just a little thing that we have implemented in the bus zones where the hotel courtesy shuttles pick up. We have posted signs, and even in the loop area on the columns, there are signs, you know, advising people to use masks. So when they do get on your shuttle, they should have their mask on. It's a mandate from our mayor now at all times, and we just posted the signs to kind of help people get through that. Even though I go down there periodically, and I definitely see like the airline staff that do get on your buses and are transported, they all have masks on. We felt it necessary to put that out there. In addition, just in case you guys don't know, the airport has put in baggage claim areas. There's plenty of signage for masks throughout the entire airport. And in the baggage claim areas, they do have hand sanitizers. So I just wanted to, you know, remind everybody of that. And Dan will proceed with all the information that you guys have. And if later on you have any questions for me, I'm here to answer them for you. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And Barbara, you've been always great informing us and updating us. We really appreciate your partnership and friendship. So I'd like to now introduce Dan Agostino, Assistant Director of Operations for the airport. And Dan, we're looking forward to hearing great news today. As you know, the hotel's got a little beat up at last night with a new order. So we're a little down, so we need you to cheer us up, okay? So okay, looking forward to that news. Thank you.
First, I'd like to say hello, and on behalf of Lester Siller, our director, I'd like to say hello to everybody. I hope everybody's staying safe. Unfortunately, the picture behind Wendy is what actually the airport looks too much like that too often now. Not a lot of activity, but I think we're starting to make that turn now, and I'll talk a little bit about the schedule, the carriers, and what we think we're going to see for the next couple of months. The first thing I want to do is we sent, and it's available, what we've been formulating since this started was an MDAD operations, the new normal, because what was in February and March is gone, and we really got to start from scratch. You know, the key components behind our plan is to make sure that there's ensure the safe clean, and secured facilities for employees, passengers, and other airport users. So that's probably been on the top of the list, is really getting the airport ready to receive passengers in this new environment. And I can tell you, the airport wasn't really built for everything we're going to have to do, in the short term. And then the other thing is provide clear communication to promote social distancing measures and wearing masks. Barbara alluded to it. One of the first things we did was really get a comprehensive signage package put together throughout the airport. Obviously, promoting the mask, promoting wash your hands, and social distancing. And that has not been an easy concept to get out there, because passengers, as we all know, want to get in the front of the line. The checkpoints is not a great place to have that, but that's the thing that we've been doing. We basically took apart all the checkpoints, had them deep cleaned, TSA equipment, thoroughly cleaned, and then we put them back together. And then if you come in now and you look at the checkpoints, each of them has 6-foot lines that we put down to ensure or hope that passengers to follow those regulations to ensure they have spacing between them. So we've done that to all the checkpoints, the deep cleaning. We've put back the checkpoints that are in use right now. So right now, basically, there's only the checkpoints in North Terminal that are open, because predominantly it's an American's operation. And then we have the checkpoint in the South Terminal that connects both the H and the J concourse. We have put plexiglass in front of all the ticket counters, gate counters, customs counters throughout the facility to ensure that those employees that are working and handling passengers have some sort of barrier between them and the customer. So we've completed that project. We put in some extra cleaning efforts as far as high touch points, railings, the buttons for the elevators. We have deployed several what we call atomizing sprayers, which actually emit a very fine fog of disinfectant. And we've done the checkpoints, the ticket counters. This is a nightly effort. This part is a nightly effort. So the FIS facilities, the checkpoints, anything where the public is, we're spraying them every night with disinfectant. We have people throughout the terminal cleaning ticket counters every day, and ensure the ones that are open anyway, and ensuring that we're keeping that up. And that's really the move forward. There's a lot of talk about new technologies, and we're kind of looking at all those things to ensure that we present to the passenger a safe environment for them to want to travel. And it's, right now, if I walked into the terminal yesterday morning, which is when American increased their flight, it almost looked normal. It was very, very close, at least in the morning. So that was a great sign. It was good to see that. Now, right now, the facility, we basically closed down 3 concourses. So G concourse is closed. F concourse is closed. E concourse is starting to get life, but very minimal at this point. The goal as we get flights back is to fill up the South Terminal, H and J, fill up E, and then if and when we open up F and G, we'll do that. I honestly don't see us doing that before 2021. So I fully anticipate that the F concourse and the G concourse will stay closed through the end of the year and probably into 2021. Now, the best predicament could be is that we get too many flights, and we have to open it up. So that would be a great thing to happen. But at this point, based on some of the projection, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Now, as far as the operation of the airport, so we were probably running the month of April and May at probably 100 flights a day in and out, and then which is next to nothing. So now we fast forward to yesterday, and we had 365 passenger flight operations. So that's in and out flights. 330 of that is American. So they've basically put back, I'm going to say somewhere between 60 and 70% of their domestic schedule they had a year ago is in place today. All right, so So we're seeing that happen. And this really is just this week. This big increase came this week. And I think it would have been bigger had there been more international added into this. Because right now, we barely have 30 international arrivals a day. And that will slowly increase as the next 30 to 60 days to 90 days comes online. So roughly about 365 total operations. Now, another positive note that might not impact the hotels, our cargo operation is very strong. Right now, our freighter operation is higher by about, I'm going to say it's about 6 or 7% higher, 8.3% higher in cargo flights right now year to date than we were a year ago, which is really a good sign. We have some of our traditional passenger carriers running freighter operations with their passenger aircraft. So carriers like British Airways and Iberia and Air France and Virgin are actually flying 787s, 777s, A350s in with just freight on them in both directions. So there is a need for that. There's a demand for that. And it seems to be at least enables the carriers to operate their equipment, probably not at a big profit, but it probably is a break-even scenario. So that's kind of where we are. Yesterday, for instance, we had just over 2,300 international passengers arrive at the airport. Now, to put that in perspective, this time of year, June, we should be between on a Tuesday, we should be somewhere between 25 and 30,000 passengers arriving off international flights. So you can see how dramatic that is. And if you look at the total passengers for yesterday, we had a total of 32,161 passengers. So on a normal day, that's probably somewhere around 125 to 130,000. So basically we're running at about 80% off on passengers and roughly about 75% off on flights. So it's very, very dramatic. And as big an airport as we are, just to see that light a flight load it's very troubling. But again, I am optimistic. We're seeing signs. We're seeing from American, basically their international operation consists of Mexico, London, believe it or not. They have a daily flight to London. They start to open up some of the Caribbean points. So the Dominican Republic is open now, Haiti's open now, and some of the other islands. They've opened up Ecuador. So that's kind of what we're seeing right now. LATAM is continuing to fly to Chile and Sao Paulo, not daily, but several times a week. The other domestic carriers, Delta, United, and Frontier, have continued to run flight operations throughout the pandemic. Delta is running right now about 10 flights a day from 3 or 4. United's flying 6 or 7 flights a day from 2. Frontier is running anywhere from 5 to 8 flights a day. So there is activity. I suspect that as the international market comes back, we'll see some more of that activity. Now, as far as international, I think what we're going to see for the remainder of this month is a few more Caribbean destinations coming online sometime this month, and that will be Aruba, we will see Aruba, Provinciales, and St. Lucia coming online before the end of this month. And that will pretty much open up the entire Caribbean. So the Caribbean is intact. We're starting to see daily flying go there. As you get into next month, I think we'll see a little bit more, of the northern rim of South America. Peru might come back and some of that flying. I think Colombia, unfortunately, is probably in August, September, which is, believe it or not, the 3 biggest international points that served from Miami International Airport is Cuba, Brazil, and Colombia. So those are the points that seem to be pushing back. I don't think we'll see Colombia till September, sometime in September. I think we'll see what we already see in Brazil on Latam. But at this point, Brazil, the way they're operating, they can only bring US citizens back into the country. So they can't bring tourists into the country. So that's what it looks. It looks like Chile and Argentina is probably in August, September startup. And as these things start up, I don't think we'll see daily operations. I think we'll see carriers operate 3 days a week, then 4 days a week, and 5 days a week, and then daily as demand picks up. Certainly, as it relates to Europe, I think we're all going to have to wait and see what the U.S. government and the EU do to figure out whether tourists can fly in both directions. I think I understand that discussion is going on every 2 weeks. So I think next week will be another discussion. Don't know where that's going, but that is going to really be the next big move, because British Airways has already started flying daily. Iberia is flying a couple of days a week. Lufthansa has indicated they want to come back next week. So, but all that is going to be contingent on those negotiations, whatever they're doing, to talk about how we can let tourists back and forth. Because I think without tourists, with non-US citizens, with non-UA EU citizens, I don't think those flights come back. I don't think they can come back. Right now, British Airways is probably flying with maybe 30 or 40 people coming in from London. So they can't sustain that. It's not sustainable. But again, I think as those things happen, I think carriers will position themselves to come back. TAP has come back. TAP Portugal came back Sunday night, and they'll fly twice a week. Turkish is back 3 days a week. So the carriers are starting to come back. Aero Mexico is back 3 days a week. So we're starting to see that next wave. I think, July we'll see some more activity. I think August we'll see the rest of Central America for sure come back online, and then the Caribbean will all be in place, including Cuba, and then the Europe is still waiting, and Deep South is, I think Brazil is a place where I'm not sure what it's going to look like. I mean, I think Americans already said they're going to wait until the winter to bring back even Rio. So they'll really just look at Sao Paulo at this point. I think the outlying cities in Brazil, like Brasilia, Fortaleza, I don't think those cities come online till the winter, if at all, from both Latam and American. Avianca is going to come back, I think, with some Central American cities in August, and then come back with Colombia, with Bogota in September. Copa is going to start coming back towards the end of this week at the end of this month, with a couple of flights a week to Panama. And then it's really just a wait and see what some of the European carriers are going to do. They're all, I got September 1st, I got August 19th. So I have some proposed dates, and it's really just a question of, everybody has continued to push them back. We started talking about this in May, and they pushed it back to June, and then it went to July, and then it went to August. There might be some that'll come back in October, but I think this is going to be a slow process. I'm hopeful that by the time we get to November, December, the holidays, that we're running about 70% of where we were a year ago. It's probably aggressive, but I think, now, God willing, we turn things around in this country as far as the virus. But I think, the way it looks, the way we're hearing, optimistically, if we get to 70% of passengers by the holidays, I think that'll be a good accomplishment, because a lot of what you read and you hear, people are talking about 2 years, 3 years. I'm not quite that pessimistic, but I think it's not gonna be a quick move to get back into where we are, and we're ready to handle them, and it's just a question of getting the carriers back.
And we're all in the same, not saying we're all in the same boat, we're all in the same plane, right?
Yeah.
And Brazil's having a tough time with the virus.
Yeah.
Tough time.
There's several countries.
Colombia, and I forgive me, I can't, they're also having a tough time?
I didn't I didn't think Colombia was as bad. I think Peru was pretty bad. Chile was pretty bad. As far as cases and what comes out. I think Colombia, in my mind, has been probably one of the more conservative countries on trying to bring this thing back. But, you know, Chile's been in pretty bad shape. I think Argentina as well. So I think as those things improve in those countries and we improve here, both in Miami and the United States, I think that'll go a long way to taking care of us. Now, you know, I don't think this thing changes much until there's a vaccine. I think we're going to be wearing the masks, social distancing to some extent. I mean, if we get to, you know, we have 32,000 passengers yesterday. You know, social distancing at 32,000 passengers was difficult. You know, social distancing at 64,000 is going to be more difficult. Social distancing at 100,000 passengers is going to be more difficult. But we have all our areas set up. We've set up the FIS facilities to be able to handle, you know, it's going to be long lines, longer lines, looking lines. The checkpoints look like longer checkpoint lines today. But, you know, we're working with those organizations. I mean, TSA has just started to bring back the dogs to do the screening. So that's just kind of getting them acclimated. There's an acclimation process, believe it or not, for the dogs. So they're coming back. And then as we move on, we'll open up more checkpoints and get things going. Any questions?
So are European tourists allowed to come through Miami International Airport and eventually return back to their original European countries?
They cannot arrive in Miami, but there are European citizens. I mean, I was downstairs the other day and Iberia went out with 293 passengers. Most of them were Spanish citizens. Now, US citizens can't go there either because, you know, we're blocked from going to those countries as well. But EU tourists cannot come into this country at this point. Now, there's some visas that can come in. There is, you know, legal permanent residents, they can arrive. But beyond that, you know, if you're coming with an ESTA from anywhere in Europe, you're not, they shouldn't even be boarding you out of that country.
And then actually Joe Ruiz, one of our GMs at the Sheraton Miami Airport Hotel, is asking, has all of this delayed the airport expansion plans?
I think, you know, obviously there's, when you have plans to move forward with billions of dollars in expansion, that's being reviewed now. I think Lester would probably be in a better place to answer that. But at this point, a lot of those items are pushing back at least. There's probably going to be delays. I don't have the specifics on the capital program, but certainly some of those plans will have to push back.
It's kind of like for our hotels, you know,
sure.
It's like for our hotels as well. Michael Hooper, hi Michael. Michael's on our board of directors at GM Airport Hilton. How far in advance are airlines giving you notice that they're adding flights, any new flights scheduled for August?
Well, I have a list of proposed start dates, but unfortunately, as news comes out that they can't bring tourists in, or we can't bring US citizens to those countries, they're pushing back. A lot of them are looking at a 2-week window. So they're saying we're coming, like Lufthansa, they say they're gonna come on July 14th, 3 days a week. If something doesn't change, it's possible that they will push that back to August. So it's coming in 2-week increments. And I think that's, unfortunately, that's gonna happen for at least the next couple of months. And most of those carriers are gonna come back with less than daily service. Yeah. I mean, if you look at Lufthansa, they're talking about 3 days a week through the winter schedule. And then they'll go to 5 days and then 7 days. Swiss come back 3 days a week. TAP is 2 days a week. Iberia is 3 days a week. So I think we're gonna see that type of frequency moving forward.
Any other questions?
I see there's at what capacity are we with domestic lift? Again, American scheduled domestic lift is about 72% of where they were a year ago. United is flying 6 or 7 flights. A year ago, they were flying 9 or 10 flights in the summer. So they're not off by a lot. Delta is flying 10, where at this time last year they had 30. That's going to take a little time. Frontier is a carrier that changes schedule often. And right now they're above where they were a year ago. So the domestic capacity is not that far off, but in American's case, the domestic capacity is driven by the foreign, their connectivity, the connections from other cities, both international cities and domestic cities. So I don't see that growing that much more moving forward. Now, also keeping in mind that all the carriers are coming back smaller. They all are smaller. I mean, the European carriers, most of them have parked all the 4-engine planes. So we probably won't see a 380 for at least another year, if at all, from any carrier. You have carriers that have been flying 747, traditional 747 carriers have put them in the desert. American, for instance, has parked all the 767s and all the 757s, basically put them in the desert. So that's 125 planes that are not in the schedule. I think Delta's parked old 777s. So the aircraft that are being used is going to change. I think we'll see a lot more 787 flying because it's a very economical plane. It's 225, 250 passengers. So it's not the 350 that you might see on the 777. So I think there's going to be a change in capacity as we move forward. Certainly the more efficient planes as well, but I think there's going to be a change, but every carrier is going to come back smaller. Unfortunately, carriers like Avianca and LATAM and Aeromexico have already filed for bankruptcy. So we still don't know what that looks like. Now, I think they'll continue to fly. I don't think there's any chance of that not happening, but I think they will come back different. They won't just throw all those flights that came back. So there's going to be a shift. There's going to be a shifting of who's flying what where, and I think that's going to take time to see what happens from there.
Well, I think that that we're as my mom used to say, joined at the hip.
Yep.
And anything that we can do to help support you and vice versa. I mean, just count on our support. Do you talk, like we talked to some of our colleagues, I talked to some of my colleagues across the country. Do you talk to your colleagues probably at the other big airports, I would think too?
Yes.
Yeah.
We are constantly throwing things at each other. Hey, are you doing this? Just to give you an example of some discussions this week, there's been this discussion about blocking every other seat in the hold rooms. Some airports are doing that. I don't subscribe to it because I think it just leads to if a family's together, they can sit together. So those are the things we most of us are all, I stay very close to Fort Lauderdale, Tampa, and Orlando, just to kind of get a sense of what they're doing. So we talk weekly. The 4 airports here talk weekly. I am very active with ACI, so I'm on with the other airports once a month. I think there's still, what does it look like? Because there's a lot of talk about screening passengers. What does that look like? And that's yet to be determined. There's a lot of talk at one point that temperatures were going to be required at the checkpoints. That's kind of slowed down a little bit because basically a temperature doesn't necessarily tell you anything other than somebody's got a temperature, and so there's been a lot of discussion about that. And then there's the discussion between countries. The borders to Canada are closed now too. So are they going to require passengers to make statements. I'm healthy. I don't know what that looks. There's got to be some kind of contract tracing. Are you going to have to fly to? Is certain countries going to require you to have a negative COVID test before the airline can board you? That yet to be, and the same thing coming into us. When this first happened, there was a screening of all EU passengers. So anybody coming from EU or UK, they were met by CDC or a contractor of CDC and DHS, and they were actually questioned, how are you feeling today? And they had to fill out a form. And then if they had some symptoms, they'd get referred to CDC. So we still don't know what that looks like. I mean, that's going to be difficult. And every country, could have their own means of making that happen. But I think Delta has moved somewhat forward, and I think they're going to require passengers to make some kind of declaration online that says, I'm okay, I'm feeling okay today, or whatever that looks like. I'm not sure, but we've seen some of that. So there's a lot of different things going around on how we as airports, how the airlines, how the government agency can handle. Because, unfortunately, TSA has been hit very hard with their own employees, as we all have, contracting the virus. So I think you're going to see a different checkpoint in the next 30 days. I think, there's going to be a lot more plastic screens around, plexiglass around everything, and that, everybody's looking for a touchless environment. That's kind of the buzzword, and everybody, we're all looking at that. How do you do that? A kiosk that you come to the terminal and you press in, say, I'm checking in now, I'm getting my boarding pass. The talk is we don't need that anymore. You don't want to do that. When you get to the checkpoint, you have to hand your license to one of the TSA before you get screened. Is that really necessary? So I think everything is on the table right now, I think. So it should be interesting.
I think a lot of interesting technology, right?
Yes.
We were talking to a company the other day that do the screening temperature checks, for a lot of people walking by, and they'll know exactly by the colors of the people. It's crazy. And contact tracing is coming up a lot. Contact tracing is coming up a lot too.
I think the contact tracing is going to fall on the airlines. I don't know where else it could fall. It's got to fall somewhere. In some way, shape, or form. I think it's going to fall on them. We have looked at some technology to the thermal temperature, monitoring, whatever it is. We've looked at that, and we still don't know what that future is. I mean, the other piece of it, the other unfortunate piece, is all this new technology comes with a high price tag, and nobody's in a position, no airport's in a position to just lay out substantial funds at this point until we're all sure.
Okay, so I have a question for you and Barbara.
Okay.
Close your eyes. If you could go on vacation tomorrow, where would you go?
Fiji.
Oh. That was fast, Barbara, and I didn't even tell you I was going to ask you that.
On my bucket list.
I think I would stay here in Miami.
Oh, that's so sweet. That's crazy.
At this point, although I'm really not afraid to get on a plane.
Yeah.
But I don't know that the vacation experience, I mean, I hope it is. It has to be. I mean, in order to draw passengers to Miami, to have a vacation, there's got to be a vacation experience, and hopefully we get that sooner rather than later. And I think you have this other group of passengers to the cruise lines that now that made up a lot of passengers that come to this airport and leave this airport. So what does that really look like moving forward? That's also a big question. I mean, I think the last I heard, the cruise was probably in October or September, October, they might get back to cruising again. And that's a whole nother element to this thing, because just like, you know, we're joined at the hip with them as well at the port, because there's so much synergies with passengers going back and forth.
We had Juan and Lester on a webinar. It was great. I mean, you know, with the CVB, the airport, the port, I mean, the airline, all of us together, we're very lucky. It's kind of like a small town.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I mean, Miami is a great, Barbara, if you can't get to Fiji, we'll get you a great staycation
Well,
wherever you want to go in Miami. I mean, there's so many wonderful hotels that are open now that are doing amazing things for our guests. I mean, I kind of, you know, and Miami needs some loving, you know, from us. So,
Yeah.
so Barbara, call me, okay?
Well, I think
Fiji. I didn't say when I was going to Fiji.
I know.
I think,
keep in mind, though, you guys, you all need a vacation too. You need a staycation. If you can't leave
Yep.
town, you need a vacation. So, you know, keep that in mind. It could be during the week, even, you know, whenever
Yeah.
you want.
I know of a lot of employees that, you know, have gone to some of the hotels here in Miami only for the weekend, just to, you know, kind of relax and, you know, break the norm a little bit of not being in the house, but at a you know, a resort or at, you know, a hotel that they have some amenities and stuff. So that's going on a little bit. I've heard a lot of people here have done that.
I mean, I think that's one of the big advantages we have. I mean,
Yeah.
Miami is a destination. You know,
Yeah,
I'm not sure. You know, I'm not going to talk bad about any place, but I'm not sure Atlanta is a destination. You know, so I think we have an advantage in that.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
Yep. And then just looking in the terminal the last couple of days, because I spent a lot of time in the terminal. People are coming to Miami. They're not coming here they're certainly not coming here to connect to an international place. There's no place to go to. So they're coming to Miami.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I don't see any more questions. I just want to thank you both for being here with us today. It was really fun, and enjoy seeing your daily data and everything going on, and anything that you would like us to share with our members. We're happy to do that, and just, you know, stay safe. Let us know how we can help you, and you know, we just really think the world of you all. I mean, really, you're amazing. I'll get another. I'll get another picture for the next one with people outside.
We sent you what our new normal plan is. So that's something that can be shared. It's a document, it's a living document.
Great.
But we're very proud to say that we have a good, you know, substantial plan to make passengers feel safe. I mean, that's what this is all going to be about.
That's wonderful. Say hi to everybody too.
Sure will. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Have a great day.
Have a great day and weekend soon, right? Yeah, in a couple of days.
All right.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.